I'm Edie Lush, and I'm inside the Ice House. It's the Hub Culture Davos Pavilion. Really pleased to be joined by a repeat guest. Thanks so much for coming by.
Glad to be back.
John Hickenlooper, Governor of Colorado. Tell me, first of all, it's the day of the Trump presidency, coming into the White House. What thoughts and have you had any outreach to the transition team?
Sure, we have a number of kind of connections or relationships of people that are working in the transition that have a presence or a business or a relationship in Colorado. So we've tried to kind of figure out exactly where our priorities should be. We've had every agency is ready. I mean, no one's really sure exactly which parts of the campaign are going to actually turn into policy. So we're really focused on, the election's over. We're going to do the best we can to make as the president, the Trump administration as successful as they can be. I mean, this is America, right? And well, this is actually Switzerland, but anyway, we are going to do everything we can, but obviously we're going to draw the line in certain places. And, we expanded our healthcare coverage by several 100,000 people. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we don't go backwards on things like that.
And what about immigration?
Immigration, well, again, we'll have to see as president, what he really means to do. I can't imagine that he's going to do some of the things he said he was going to do in the campaigns, but if he does, we're certainly not going to have, federal uniformed troops going through neighborhoods and door to door and removing people from their families. That I can guarantee you will not happen. So my guess is that a lot of the bravado and some of the campaign issues, they'll get softened down, watered down, and I'm going to guess perhaps, President Obama, no one recognizes this, but he deported, more than 1 million people. There is I'm going to guess that the policy won't be that different than what President Obama did.
Tell me, given the demographic changes going on in your part of the United States, do you think this could be the last Republican president?
I sure hope so. No, well, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was my outside voice, wasn't it? That's the problem with staying out late at night. I don't know. I think the Mountain West now is still pretty purple, and Colorado has, rough justice about a little over maybe 3.3 million voters, and it's about 1 million Democrats, about 1 million Republicans, and about 1.25 independents. And I think it really is going to depend on who the candidate is, what the platform looks like. I think we're a long way away from being a blue state, which people keep saying, well, are you blue yet?
Right.
If you look at our independents and ask them which way they lean, by almost 2-to-1, they lean conservative. So even though we're even in registration, the state probably still leans a little bit red.
And in terms of younger voters?
Younger voters, without question, very blue. The millennials and the kind of the tail end of the Generation Y, they are liberal, but they are also not tied to parties, and they're much more focused about specific issues like college debt and what they're going to do about that. So it's hard to predict their behavior. Although after the election, some of the rock and roll stars that we talked to, we have, Colorado right now has more music venues than just about any state on a per capita basis.
Job.
Yeah, it is great. Ski resorts, amazing music. But a lot of the musicians said, we weren't as active as we maybe should have been in this election cycle, and that won't happen again. And pretty much all the young people I've talked to said, that 4 years from now we're going to be out there, we're going to be involved.
What surprised you about the cannabis economy within your state?
Well, I think, like most elected officials, I opposed legalizing recreational marijuana. But once it passed, 55-45, we've done, I think, a pretty good job of building a regulatory framework. We're still trying to improve it. We have what they call a gray market. So there's some glitches in what the voters approved that allow, like caregivers, basically home grows, to have up to 99 plants. Well, that's crazy. That allows all kinds of people to grow a bunch of it and just kind of have a bunch of extra pot and maybe sell it into the market. So we're trying to adjust our tax level and get the price of marijuana to make that risk. People are trying to do that.
What's the right level of tax, do you think?
Exactly. Well, I think we're pretty close. But we want to get rid of the black market. I mean, that was really, from the beginning, one of the goals. We were delighted the first couple of years. We didn't see a spike in teenage use. We didn't see a spike in regular use. The people that used to use it when it was illegal still do. The people that didn't still don't.
Right.
So I think the economy part of it, it's about $1.5 billion. Probably this year it'll be a $2 billion economy in terms of jobs and the costs and just putting that money into the economy. So it's not a huge part of the economy by any sense, but it's taking something that was illegal and now really tightly regulating it, which means we have, this last year I think we had about $140 million. Again, state of Colorado, total in everything, the budget's about $27 billion. So if you're looking at $140 million, that's not a big part of the budget, but it is money that we can use for drug counseling. We've tried to really protect that money, and I mean the first $40 million was committed by the voters to go to education, and then after that we put some to education, but we also really focus on, drug treatment, chronic homelessness, so we can get people. I mean, most chronically homeless individuals have drug issues, so we're trying to use some of those resources to build very modest housing, but most importantly, supportive housing. So they get counseling, they get medication if they got mental illness, and job training. We're trying to get them into jobs. So in that sense, I think we're trying to really use the tax revenues for the unintended consequences.
What thoughts on any progress you might make on gun control, given the new president?
Well, he's, again, as on so many issues, we changed our relation, the state of Colorado changed its relationship status with DC to it's complicated.
Right.
Right? And I think
officially on Facebook.
Officially, yes, exactly. So it's hard to say where he's going to be.
Right.
We look at, we still have universal background checks that we pass through the legislature. It's very contentious. But every year, there are 30 or 40 people that were convicted of homicide who try to buy a gun. Right? People keep saying, well, crooks aren't stupid. They're not going to, pay the $10 and wait around for 15 minutes to purchase a gun. Well, turns out crooks are stupid.
Right.
And they will, we have each year a couple thousand, 500 or 600 people that were convicted of felony assault. It's where someone goes to the hospital. They try to buy a gun. People that are on restraining orders to see their ex-spouse or their ex-boss, they're trying to buy a gun. That's not a good idea. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we maintain and protect that universal background check.
So which is more fun, running a beer company or being governor of Colorado?
And the best part about running the Wine Coop Brewing Company was it was a brewery, but it was also a restaurant.
Right.
So you had that energy and that sense of service, of really, creating a culture of service. And I do miss that. I miss that every day, although in that sense, it's not different. It's not dissimilar from being governor. So if you are one of those people that's genetically disposed towards being a do-gooder, as a mayor or as a governor, you can certainly do more than you can running a big restaurant. But they're kind of similar.
Any chance of a run for presidency, 2020?
Well, we've got a long way between here and there, so I think I've got 2 more years, and we're working on some workforce stuff. I think one of the big issues in the country right now is as the economy has increased in automation, we've lost hold, not just jobs, people have lost their professions and careers, globalization. We did nothing. We created some of the most rapid concentrations of wealth ever, and we never tried to take a sliver of that new wealth and use it to make sure we're retraining the people that were left behind. So we're working on an apprenticeship program. We actually brought 50 people to Switzerland last spring, and we had the superintendents of schools, the head of community colleges, we had CEOs of companies, the head of all kinds of people to try and look at doing an apprenticeship, not in, like for electricians and plumbers, we already do that, but an apprenticeship program for, bankers, insurance companies, advanced manufacturing. And now we're trying to tie that, we're partners with LinkedIn to create a website where it's all skills-based. So somebody who's lost their profession, we know what their skills are, and we know what kind of clusters of skills for these emerging jobs, right? We have 10,000 job openings in cybersecurity in Colorado. So Space Command is down in Colorado Springs, so a lot of these retired military people have started consulting firms. 10,000 job openings, more than half, probably 2/3, don't need a college degree. What are their skills they need? They have to be numerate, high sense of precision, sense of urgency, collaborative. Well, bank tellers, we're losing bank tellers like crazy. What are their skills they already have? They have to be numerate, high sense of precision, sense of collaboration, sense of urgency. So a bank teller would still have to go take a coding class, 6 months or 8 months, but they would then maybe get a job where they'd actually get paid more than they did as a bank teller. We want to try and look at all the professions that are kind of where people are being left behind and find ways at scale that we can identify the skills that they're lacking and where their jobs are real time. And I think that's the kind of stuff. I got 2 years to try and put that in place. And I sometimes, I get a little excited about this stuff. And it's so weird to be lying awake. I used to get excited thinking about getting to see a rock and roll band or something like that. Now I'm thinking wow, workforce training, it's so exciting.
Governor Hickenlooper, thank you so much for stopping back here into the Pub Culture Pavilion, and I'm Edie Lush.